who is telling you, don't listen to anybody, don't follow anybody, that person has something he is hiding. As a human being that has his brain, his critical thinking, you must listen to good and bad and use your brain to make your choice. You understand? I would like you to listen to these two Muslims. Listen.
Do women need to cover their hair when they pray in Islam? And if so, why? This is a really interesting discussion because it's almost unanimously agreed in Islam that women must cover their hair in prayer or their prayer is not accepted. But when you start unpacking it and when you start asking the questions, you find that these arguments completely fall apart. So I'm going to make three arguments here. The first one is that there is no obligation for women to cover their hair.
Get your data.
The second one is that there is a specific
Please.
reason that God asks women to cover their beauty or their zina, and that does not apply in prayer. And number three, God is not offended by people's hair. So the first argument I made in a previous video is that there is no command in the Quran for women to cover their hair. However, in Surah Ahzab, Allah does tell women to use their outer garments to cover themselves, and He explains why. He doesn't say that there is a spiritual reason or there is some morality behind it. He says that it's so they may be recognized as believing women and that they are not harassed. So basically, Allah is saying that He's advising women to do this for their own benefit,
for my own
their
benefit,
protection, and for their recognition. If women want to accept that, that's up to them. Now, that's the first point. So there isn't an obligation to cover their hair in prayer or out of prayer, period. The second point is that for women to cover themselves, even if you believe that covering the hair is an obligation, it's clear in the Quran from Surah Al-Ahzab that there is a specific reason for it. And that reason is for their own protection against the promiscuity and the mischief of men. Now, if a woman is praying to Allah in private or with other women, then why does she need to cover her hair? How is there a temptation? How is there any risk of being harmed or harassed or not being honored? It makes no sense whatsoever. And the third thing is that God is not offended by hair. If there was some reason that women need to cover their hair in front of God, well, then why don't men need to cover their hair also? Why is it immodest for a woman to show her hair in front of God, but it's not immodest for men to show their hair? Like, what makes a woman's hair immodest over a man's hair? Again, it makes no sense whatsoever. Now, there is no evidence in the Quran that suggests a woman needs to cover her hair, let alone cover it in prayer when she's praying to her Lord. Her Lord who created her and created all of us in our naked forms and sees us all the time. God sees us when we are in prayer, when we are in a shower, when we are in our highest and lowest points. So why would there be a need for women in particular to cover their hair in Salah? Now, if you think about this, for anyone who spends a moment to just think critically, it's quite clear that this is a cultural influence, probably by men who felt that women who didn't cover their hair were being immodest, and therefore they incorporated this into Salah. And, you know, just to reiterate that there is nothing in the Quran that suggests this. There's a hadith from Aisha radiallahu anha who says that any woman who reaches menstruation must cover or her prayer won't be accepted. Now, this hadith found in Tirmidhi, not in the Sahihain, not in Sahih Bukhari or Muslim. Tirmidhi, who himself classified as Hasan and was later classified as Sahih by Albani, is the only piece of evidence, literally the only piece of evidence that suggests a woman must cover her hair in Salah. So clearly this is not a godly instruction, is a cultural one, and it makes no logical or rational sense as to why women must cover their hair. If you think I'm wrong, or if you can explain that there is a reason, a rational one, where women should cover their hair in front of God and men don't need to do it, please let me know. But as far as I can see, there is no reason why women need to cover their hair in a...
Alhamdulillah, I don't know him, but the same way he understands it, that's the way I do. And I want you to listen to this Muslim again. Listen.
If you reject hadith, I can't even believe we say that sentence. Let's give them, let's give them that, yeah? Even though it's crazy, let's give them, yeah? At least take it all. At least you accept Quran, yeah? Let's say Quran is our standard, yeah? What does the Quran say about the Prophet, yeah? It says, obey Allah and obey the Messenger. Let me know, please, yeah, the question to the public, yeah? How are you following the Messenger? Tell me how, because you don't know what he said or what he did. Wallahi, tell me how, because he's only mentioned 4 times in the Quran. Tell me what you following. Tell me. Show me what he said and what he did, because you don't know. You don't know. So silly. Tell me. Who tell me how to do it?
You know, your hadith books do say that women are deficient in religion and deficient in intelligence, but jokes aside, let's stick with what the truth states. So you asked, how do we know what the messenger said and what the messenger did? Literally, the word qul is repeated so many times in the Quran, we know exactly what the messenger was saying to his people. And how do you obey the messenger?
May Allah
obeying
bless
the
you as you
message.
share
You're
this video.
capable of obeying God prior to the Quran. So if the Quran is the message of God and it was delivered by a messenger, and the only duty of the messenger is to notify, then you follow the message. Of course, when the messenger is alive, he's a general, he's the president, he's the king. So when he tells you to muster up the army, you have to obey him. But if the messenger comes and tells you that this is haram, when God said that it's not haram, then you don't obey him because it's not from God and it's not from the messenger. But you're also showing how ignorant you are in the Quran. You're asking me, how do you perform wudu? It's right there in chapter 5, verse 6. And guess what else does the Quran say? That it's complete, that it's perfect, that nothing is left out, that it's an explanation to all things. A book that is explained in detail. And these are the verses of God that we recite to you in truth. So what hadith after God and his verses do they believe in? The hadith puts women down so much that you literally are called a kafira in the eyes of a proper Sunni because of how you're acting in your podcast, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But as for Sunni Islam, what you're doing is considered haram. And according to Sunni Islam, the majority of women are going to hell. So sit in your house and be quiet, please.
Thank you, guys. My people, please, this video is long. I did this video for humanity. Anybody that is telling you don't listen to anybody, don't listen to somebody, consider you he's talking to or she is talking to as somebody that has no mind of his own. I will see you guys on my next video. Thank you.